session will be recorded. And again, you are on the 5-day challenge to heal your inner child. And I am your instructor today, Edna White. Thank you from all these beautiful areas. Um, and thank you for just like jumping in the chat. I'm from Long Island, so I will say hello. And I see Rebecca from Indiana. You can pop in and just say hello or wave. Um, Also, I see Ferndale, Washington. Karen, you can just say hello to as well. Paris from Atlanta, Georgia. You can say hello.
Hi.
Everyone's still coming in. Hello. And I got Orlando, no, Ontario, Canada here as well. So if you're from there, just pop in and say hello as well. Waving. So I hope I didn't miss anyone, but oh, I see Las Vegas here. Las Vegas. Stephanie as well. Hello. So thank you all for being here today because I'm really excited. So each day, if you didn't check the event, each day there's going to be things that we're going to be doing together and on things that we're going to understand together. So there's going to be some information. Then we're going to have some questions and answers just about the information so you can begin to heal your inner child. So as I said before, we talk about inner child, but we really don't know what it means. We hear it a lot. And I will say, I know 17 signs that you need inner healing. I know it could be more, but I'm giving you the perspective from healing my inner child. I am a survivor and a thriver at this moment of childhood sexual abuse. And I had 4 perpetrators. And this is when I was younger, about 5 or 6. Started and it lasted till about 15. And I've survived that, and I've also learned how to heal from it. Now, we talk about all the time that we feel like we're broken, but we're not. Don't ever feel like that, because I always thought I was broken. I always felt like there was something wrong with me and I just didn't fit the piece of puzzle. But it's not even about that. It's just that either with a puzzle, either the piece is missing, it's totally gone, or it's kind of like broken, like it's kind of ripped up, but it still fits in there. It's kind of warped, may get wet or something, but it still fits in. So don't ever think of yourself as broken, and you that you need to be fixed, because you don't. You need to heal yourself. And your inner child, I believe, is the most important when you're dealing with as an adult. So all of us, I don't know everyone's age here, but I would say that most of the time when you feel that you need healing is when you become an adult, when things aren't working out, when some of the programming from the past or the perpetration from the past or the pain from the past interferes with your adulthood. And it interferes on how you relate to others. It interferes in how you even work. It interferes with how you even do your own business. It interferes with everything. Okay. For me, I know that it impeded a lot of my life. For one thing, it was food. I had to control food. So one of my pet peeves is to everything had to be separate. Every little item that was on my plate, it couldn't run into it. It couldn't be next to it. And my fork had to be a certain type of fork. So I learned early that I had to gain some control because I didn't have control in my life. And you'll see later on when you become an adult, control is a major issue. It will become a major issue. How many of us can say that? Can you raise your hand in the chat? Just raise your hand. How many can say that right now control is a big issue in your adult life? It happens, Yeah, it really does. It kind of switches. You can gain control when you're a child, but you kind of, now you have to control everything because you're an adult now. So now you want to have control totally at all times. And it doesn't feel like that, but it really is. We don't want to admit it sometimes, but it really is about control. So that was one of my things. The other thing was for me was I was always controlled with money. My perpetrator used money to kind of silence me. I hated money. My finances were the worst. My finances, I wouldn't hold money. If I smelt money, I kind of got really sick. And I wasn't in control of a lot of it. Can you please mute yourself if you just came in? Thanks so much. So life moves on. Now I've had those things and life moves on. And we tend to forget and disconnect from the childhood part of us. Okay. Because we're totally fixated, working on, focusing on being an adult. We're just an adult right now. We want to be an adult. We are an adult place. We believe our problems and our difficulties are because of our adulthood and very singularly not have nothing to do with our childhood. But it has a lot to do with it. It has, if I can go back on all of the decisions that I've made that were not in my best interest, I can best trace it back to something in my childhood. So we're going to learn how healing, what you need to do about healing your childhood. So it's a lot of note. If you want to take notes, you're more than welcome to do that. Just save your questions until afterwards. That would be great. And I'll have some time to do that with you. Okay, but our first day is going to be delving into going to be delving in what are the signs of your inner child need healing. So like I said, I know 17 signs, and you may know more. I'm going to ask you if you know more, that's fine. But there are 17 signs that you need to be aware of and about why your inner child needs to grow, a lot of when I was young, a lot of it, my brain was still there when I was forming relationships. I was still, as a child, even a relationship with my mother, whenever I spoke to her, I felt like I was 12 again. I always felt me zoom down to a little child. I could feel it and zoom down to this little 12-year-old child and not being able to say anything back to her because adults were the ones that made the rules, and what they said was paramount, So as an adult, I couldn't even relate the correct way until I really conquered and was successful in healing what was going on with me as a child and actually help my little child grow up to my age, if that makes any sense. But I think it will when we get to really started. It took me about 5 years to really understand what it meant to really heal the inner child and find my worth, literally. And in all those areas, in my finances, in my my health, in general, in my spiritual life, even my social life, it took me 5 years to kind of dig out of that programming that I had really gotten into and just really start to reparent my inner child. I didn't want to believe any of the, I guess, the hoopla that was going on. I didn't want to believe that my inner child was like that. But when I saw myself behaving badly, I saw me having a tantrum. When I saw myself going crazy with because my ex-husband was annoying me and I was breaking things, I saw the inner child in me. I saw it. And I was like, oh, whoa. It really just shocked me. Like, whoa, I see myself like a little kid having this temper tantrum because I was told no, or because things weren't working out, or because it didn't work the way it was for me. So I realized that there were some unaddressed wounds inside of me that needed to be addressed. All right. So how many of you, and I'm going to ask you this, I just said something about wounds. Do you all realize, if you can raise your hand in the chat box, do you realize that you have unaddressed wounds that need attention? Yeah, I would think so. A lot of people would say yes, sure. Yes. So yeah, it would be a lot of that. It would be a lot of us know that there's a lot of unaddressed wounds that we have. So, and we have a lot of patterns that we keep doing. Like for me, I know I'm going to stay on me. I was thinking that, people were seeking me out, certain relationships were seeking me out, and they always ended up being over. lasted for so long. But that wasn't them. It was me. It was me with my programming, as it were, my patterns, as it were, protecting myself, and inner child saying, no, you're not going to stay with this person because da, 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 da. My inner child was acting out. So a lot of my relationships did not last. A lot of them, I didn't take responsibility on the part that I had in them. So what did I have to do? I had to start all over and begin to trust myself. Because what do you do when you're 5 years old? You trust whatever you do. Whatever you do, if you fall, scrape your knee, you're getting back on, you're getting on the swing, you're getting on the, on the bike again, you're jumping on a tree, whatever you're doing, you're going to do it again because you trust yourself. You trust yourself to conquer that. So I'm going to go over some signs that your inner child is wounded and it needs to be reparented, meaning that you're going to do the work to reparent yourself. What would you give your child if you were to be your own parent? Think about that. What would you do? What would your child need? What would a child need that you didn't get? You know more than anyone else what you didn't get. So reparenting only should start with you, right? Does that resonate with anybody? Of course. Your inner child needs to be, reparented. Okay, so number one, you always feel low about yourself. So that has to do with self-worth. That you can't do certain things, that you're not able to do certain things, not because of any disabilities, but just because, I can't do that. I won't do that. I know one of my clients that I had, actually, she worked as a cashier for almost 20 years, and they kept asking her to be a manager and to be in corporate, and she wouldn't do it. She said, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. So here she is in her 50s with all the opportunities over the years and the abilities, but because she said to herself, I can't do that. They won't listen to me. Who am I to listen to me or do this or that? So if you feel low about yourself, that's number one. If you're a people pleaser, that's number two. You always want to please everyone else. Even though you want to say no really, really bad, you still do it. You find it hard trusting your gut and inner voice. Inside says to you, this is not right. And I know for me, this has happened so many times. I heard it, didn't listen. Inside, your gut tells you, and you don't listen. You don't trust yourself. 4, you always are pouring yourself in the cups that fail to contain you. So you're always giving to other people that really don't care. They don't care. Or you give your ideas at work, you give your ideas and they use it and they say that you have nothing to do with it, that it was their idea. You always are pouring into the wrong cups. You're always trusting the wrong kind of people, to have your knowledge, to have your love, to have your, wisdom. You're giving it to them. You cannot trust other people or connect with them. You just don't have any friends, or you have no connections, or you're very standoffish about, creating connections with other people. That kind of hurts. If you have a business, that's really going to hurt it. If you have a career, that's really going to hurt your career. Family, the same thing. If you're really standoffish with your family, how is there going to be a relation with them? Probably not. You feel like you're carrying the burden on your shoulders. That's number 6. You have the feeling of jealousy when you see someone getting what you want. So when you see someone, you have the feeling, I can't believe that this is happening for them and not me, and you become really, really upset about it. And some of that's normal, but when it's over, I'm talking about when it's over jealous, like totally over, when you don't even want to talk to the person. Okay. You don't even want to have a conversation with the person, and you don't even see them. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about some forms of jealousy are all right, because you can make them pass. But this is the ongoing things. Anything in excess is error. Okay. 8, you don't consider yourself capable enough of doing certain things. Like I said, certain things, just like that example I gave you about the manager, same thing. 9, you always have to work hard to earn love. So when you're in a relationship, you're doing more than the person that you're in a relationship with. You're doing more, way more. And I don't know if there's a percentage, but I know that when you come to the table, you're 100. I don't know about 50-50. I know when you come to the table, you're at 100. So the other person should be at 100. But if you're 110, 120, and they're at 50, no good. No good. I mean, you're over. Everything's over, And you always have to work hard for that, You always got to work hard. You have to do double duty to earn. There's no earning love. It's given graciously. 10, you feel ashamed of things that happened in your past. When I first came out with my story about what happened with me, my family shunned me, called me every name that I could think of, and didn't believe me. And it hurt me badly, but I believed in my story. I believed that I was telling the truth. And the things that I was certain about, I told. I said, this is what happened. And then along the way, everything, all the pieces kind of came together because I kind of forgot some of it, but all the pieces came together. And I wasn't ashamed of it. I tell my story worldwide, internationally, to other victims that may have gone through the same thing. And I'm a great advocate of prevention. So I use my story to teach, parents, caregivers, teachers, how to prevent their children from being abused. If you just got on, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. Let me see, what number am I at? And see, if you find it difficult, if you find it difficult to present your opinion. So if you're in a group of people and you're talking and they have a good talk or the conversation is great, you feel afraid to present your opinion. I know I felt like that maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was feeling like that when I would get around a certain group of people, and it's a lot of what it was for me is a lot of people with PhDs. So I was in a new group of people, I kind of started going out, and it was a new group of people. I felt really uncomfortable because they had PhDs, they had the masters and this and that, and they had and I felt kind of like, well, they're not going to listen to me, kind of thing. But then after thinking it over, my opinion is just as good as theirs. The only difference is they went to school. Maybe we're just talking about peanut butter, but my opinion might be just as good about peanut butter, So I trained myself to move a little bit more out and start talking a little bit more and share my opinion. And then you couldn't shut me up. After that, you couldn't shut me up. So, and you still can't shut me up, no matter who I'm around and what group of people I'm with, PhDs or whatever, regardless. Okay, so you have difficulty in presenting your opinion. You have a bad relationship with food. I had a very bad relationship with food. Certain foods I wouldn't eat, or I was eating too much of something because it was related to my abuse. So that's 13. 14, you always blame yourself for everything that's happening in your life, no matter what it is, no matter what. It could be someone else's fault. It could be an issue with someone else. No matter what it is, it's my fault. It's, I did it. So I'll take the blame for it. And then sometimes you just take the blame because you don't want to hear the conflict, and that's still taking the blame for something that just not your fault. 15, you feel anxious to try out something new. Being able to get out there and heal the inner child, and I'll go back to the 5-year-old child. They're not afraid to go out there. If there's a horse and they have an open mind and they're in a family that is not afraid of anything, oh yeah, they're gonna, let's get on this horse. Let me try this out. I'm a little scared, but let me do it. And they'll try it. They'll do things that they want to keep the wonderment and the adventure in their lives. And if you're anxious about trying something new, such as roller skating, probably my age, but I roller skated when I was young. So, but you don't want to do it now. Oh, I might break a hip or something like that. Well, what you say comes true. So you want to not say those things, just have a great time, So you feel anxious, you feel the worst is going to happen if you try something new. All right. 16, you don't feel true to yourself. Whatever is in here, it's not sitting right with you. You just feel so fake and so phony. And it probably is true because you're kind of living in a masked world. You're when you're at home, you're one way by yourself. And then when you're in front of other people, you're another way. And just like you saying no to someone, like, not being able to say being a people pleaser, that's fake. I'm a people pleaser. I want to please everybody so everybody like me, but I really don't like myself because I'm giving all of myself away. So yeah, you're not going to feel true to yourself. You're not going to do that. You're going to be, I don't feel comfortable. I should have said no to going strawberry picking, and I'm allergic to strawberries. Why did I say that? I should have said no to picking up Miss Lila's cat, and I'm allergic to cats. Sacrificing yourself, being a martyr, people pleasing is not living true to yourself. 17, you have difficulty in letting go of things and people. That's when you know this inner child is acting up. So, story about myself, which I wrote about in one of my books, is I used to get a lot of money. So I used to live in a neighborhood where it was a lot of people that were Jewish, which I didn't know at the time because I was young. I was maybe 9. And they would ask me to come in and turn their lights off in their apartment. It was a big apartment building. And they would give me a quarter. And I was like, I used to rack up. I used to go across there and rack up every Friday. Every Friday was my little job, and go over and rack up. But I would never spend the money. That went back to my abuse. That went back to my childhood. I would never spend the money. So I'd literally wash the change, make it nice and clean and shiny. And I would wash the dollar bills and I wash them and put them under my bed. Literally full of just money. And I never spent it. Never spent it. And I couldn't let it go. So it's a form of not letting go of something. I couldn't let it go. Like, why did I do that? What was going on with me is because, of my childhood, and so you have to learn to let go of things that don't serve you anymore. Just like a pair of pants, let's say. You're 2 sizes bigger. I'm saying me. I know I'm 2 sizes bigger, but I'm at a size 8. And I got a pair of size 6 pants in there, right? Try as I may, much as I want to, this is the 3rd year they're hanging in the closet. Still haven't gotten to the 6 yet. So what do you think? I'm at 8, so I think I should stay at the 8, right? So what do? I keep those in the closet. It's time to let them go. Let them go. And they may represent a good time, a fun time in your life, but you got to let it go. Got to let that go. Got to let people go that no longer serve you. If you've been friends with someone since you were kids, like young kids, and this person is always belittling you, really doesn't have any time for you, that's not like a friendship, don't you think that's time to go? I mean, it's time to let them go. And sometimes letting a person go, you still could be friends with them, but you can't let them demean you and make you feel bad. That's when it's time to let things go. It's like, I'm gonna go back to my peanut butter. It's like keeping the peanut butter and it's the expiration date is way over. It's useless. So let things go. So those are the 17 signs from your daily routine that we fail to realize. And those are signals that we need to heal with, that we're not broken and we don't need to be fixed by anybody, but we need to heal. So why do you need to heal? You need to heal to understand why and what is going on in your life. Um, it's like living in a tornado effect, wind blowing. Let's just say wind just blowing, and you don't know which direction, don't know what to hold on to, don't know, where it's coming from. It's like that. And in order to get that feeling of being grounded, you're going to have to really, really figure out which way this wind is coming from. So healing your inner child means being your own parent. Just think of your inner child as an actual child who needs your care, your love, and your support. How are you going to be there for your inner child? What are you going to say to this little one when the whole of your life is doubted, him or her? What if a child comes to you and says, I don't know what my name is, or I don't feel good? What's the answer you would give that child? That's what you would say to you. As adults, we don't speak nice to each other. To ourselves. We don't speak nice. We don't speak nice. We wake up in the morning, boy, do I look bad. You look in the mirror. Oh God, I look bad. Bad hair day. You start talking like that early in the morning. We don't talk nice to ourselves, That's the first step towards healing your inner child, is speaking nice and caring for that child and representing yourself without the harshness. Even though there is a truth behind all of that, you need to, without the harshness, accept that inner child and say, hey, here's the answer to your question, and be able to answer that child can really realize and understand. When you realize that you have a little bit of work to do with this healing, you can actually move forward to the real path of like being light. And I'm talking about with the weight off your shoulders, that it just makes things feel so much better. When I started not judging myself, I didn't judge anyone else. So I see people differently. When I learned what forgiveness really was about, and it wasn't about the act of asking for forgiveness. It wasn't the act. It was, yes, making them responsible, but letting that go. That it doesn't chain me. When I felt that, when the chains broke for me, is that you will no longer chain me. I forgive that you had no sense about what you were doing, but you will no longer chain me because you don't make me. And that act of what happened didn't make me. So when I learned about forgiveness and whom it was for, it helped my inner child to grow. And it helped me to understand that I needed more healing. And it takes a while. Many times giving love and attention and support, you don't know how to do it. But think of yourself as someone you don't even know. Don't even know. Just don't even know. And really, you don't even know them. But just think about that. Say you're beautiful. Say you're lovable. And you may stand in front of the mirror, because that's one of the things that, one of the exercise I did, and I stood in front of the mirror and I had to love every part of me, every part of me, even the parts that I kind of created and didn't like. Okay, but every little part of me I had to love, and I had to give myself a pep talk every day. All right, no matter how miserable I felt, I had to give myself a pep talk. I have to give my inner child, okay, we got this today, right? We're not going to have no temper tantrums today. How did you that? Because adult Edna is going to keep her emotions in control and not let you loose. Okay, is that right? So I had to do a lot of that. I literally do a lot of that. Okay, because I felt that I was worthy enough, and I didn't want to get into the trap of those negative things, those negative behaviors, and especially those negative thoughts. Although they do come, I know that I can turn them around and make them work, because we all have negative and positives in us. We all have good and bad. We all have all those things going on in us, but it's just a matter of how we're going to make them work, how we're going to turn them around, that the responses and reactions are different. Okay. So now that you've heard some of those, what the signs are, I just want to show hands. Does everybody understand, where they are, what they are? They understand what they are. So before I get going on something else. Okay, let's see. You understand how to heal yourself? Okay. Oh, I see someone said I missed the last year. Okay, so is that Sam? Okay. Sam, I will if you just give me an email, I will send the entire thing to you. Or you'll get the video. So you'll be able to have that information, all right? So, but does everybody understand? Does everyone understand, those behaviors? And yes, we have to accept them, okay? I know it's a big undertaking to accept that we behave a certain way and that we are thinking a certain way. I know that it's hard to digest that, but it's the best way to get to the road of healing. Admitting something, and you don't have to go admit it to me or to anyone else. This is what this challenge is about. It's about you admitting these things about yourself. And that's where you get the little journals. I'm going to show you mine. Get your little journals, right? You get your little journals and you start writing, right? You start writing. This is a great opportunity to start your journey in journaling, okay? So you start writing these things and admit these things to yourself, because that's where healing comes from, all right? So now that we know where they're coming from, what they are, and we know they're coming from a little child. It's not coming from the adult one, because believe me, the adult doesn't want to throw dishes. The adults don't want to curse people out. They don't. They don't want the trouble. Adults don't want to, do things that just cause conflict. They don't want to do that. The little child does. So wherever your trauma was, where it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, wherever it is, that's the number you got to start at raising up. So how do we do that? Well, I know that probably most of us in this window of the Zoom have, if we don't have children, we've been around children, right? If we haven't been teachers, we've been around children, right? So we know what each age may need, right? We know what they may need. So I'm going to give you 7 things that the inner child needs to hear you say, okay, to start this journey. So you get your little trusty journal out when you start realizing those 17 behaviors, and so you can stop self-sabotaging yourselves, because you are enough. It's just that sometimes you do too much because the inner child is not healed. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's the 7 things that your inner child needs to hear you say. 1, you're always loved. Always. Okay? And I know we haven't heard that a lot. You're always loved. Tell your inner child that I love you. I love you. When I first started this journey of meditation and affirmations and literal change, one of my first steps was to get affirmations. I live by those all the time, and I say them daily, first early in the morning and then in the evening as a mantra. And I would get stickies. And so when I realized I was never told that I was beautiful, guess what I did? I put it on the mirror in a sticky, I am beautiful. And I would tell myself that. Little did I know that I was telling my little self that, because my little self didn't hear that. When I got older and I was modeling, I heard that a lot, but it didn't make any difference because my little child didn't hear it. Wasn't told anything. I was like, non-existent. So 1, tell your inner child you're loved always. Number 2, I'm there for you. When you make an error and have like a little tantrum, okay, let's just say it's a real big tantrum, right away, get some time, sit down with yourself and say, I know you're talking to the inner child. This triggered something in you, which was familiar to you. I get you, little Edna. As an adult, that whatever someone said triggered something in you, and it wasn't the adult, but it was you, little Edna. I get it, and now I know why it's happening to you, and I want you to know I'm there for you, and this helps emotionally and mentally. It helps you emotionally line up to why. It's because you're going to sit with yourself and you're going to say, why did I act like that? Well, you're asking the adult self and the little one. And the little one's going to say, because mom used to do this, or dad used to do this, or the teacher said this, and this remind me of this. So that child's going to tell you, well, that helps you as an adult become very clear emotionally how to handle this. And mentally, that you're not continuously repeating the same thing. You're not doing the same thing. You're getting a grasp on it and getting a hold to your behaviors and your actions right away. So you're noticing it, and you're not struggling. You're like, why did I do this? And you're not getting why, because you're struggling. But if you ask yourself, why did I do that? Why was my behavior and my actions overboard? When you sit with yourself. Because emotional wellness has a lot to do with mental illness. Emotional wellness, if you are handling your emotions, right? And you are not in control, but know they exist because they're there for a reason. And you know that you're feeling them and you're not struggling with them, but you're noticing and you know why they happen. And you're more or less, okay, I know that I'm supposed to feel grief, but when I get overboard, what is that? What is that really about? See what happens with when you're not emotionally well, everything's overboard. And then what does that overboard do? It starts to mentally drain you. Right? That's the steps it takes. So you want to be there emotionally for your inner child, that you're always there. And being there means sitting with your adult self and the child self and asking yourself those important questions and being very clear with yourself. Number 3, saying I'm sorry. I know a lot of us adults don't like apologizing. We don't. We don't like apologizing when we're wrong about something. We don't like apologizing to our children when we didn't get something right and we should go back and immediately apologize. We don't like doing that. But that is it does yourself damage. Now, when we're talking about saying sorry to your inner child, you're always going to say that because the inner child is having their moments, right? And apologizing to your inner child is pushing yourself hard, to really realize that's terrifying what you went through. And if I'm acting like this as an adult and I know my inner child is, yes, I'm sorry that I didn't recognize as an adult that was going to trigger me. And then I started acting out and it let you loose. I apologize for that. I apologize. Because that makes you you start to break the chain of the strong urge to just misbehave. And then it helps you to enjoy the moments, even in good moments. We as adults, we don't appreciate moments. And one of my favorite things to do is when I'm not being mindful of moments, I go grab a dish and start washing it. Why do I do that? It brings me to a place that I can really actually feel how warm the water is and get to a place of, feeling the plate if it has bumps on it, if it, being in the moment, being washing that dish and being in the moment. When the inner child starts acting out, sometimes it's because of us as adults, we're not being in the moment. Then we become anxious and we don't know why we're anxious. And we could be on a great vacation and we don't know why we're becoming anxious, is because you weren't in the moment. And the inner child probably said, wow, we should go zip lining, but you didn't go. You stayed in the room. You were short with other people, said, no, I don't want to do that. That was the adult. And then the inner child, what does the inner child does? Start acting out and put you in a mood. So you need to say sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't stay in the moment. You're exactly right. You had the right to act out because I didn't stay in the moment. You had the right. 4, you didn't deserve this. As a child, we always believe that we deserve a certain kind of punishment if we fail, okay? If we fail at something. Or if something fails around us, like our parents get divorced, somehow we always get our problem, our mistake. Some of us might have experienced mental or physical abuse or treated as something or somehow that we didn't deserve. But now as we grow up or we've grown, we should realize we never deserve to be treated in such a manner at all. Maybe our parents would have, unhealed wounds of their past, and they passed down things to us, that were reflective of their parenthood. But you need to tell your inner child, you weren't treated well. And let he or she know that you didn't deserve any of those negative things. And last, how many more I got? Oh, I got 7. Okay, got 7 more. I got 7, but I'm at number 5. 5, I forgive you. Being a child, I always strived hard to be perfect and do everything that would make me a perfect child. Thus, I have so many syndromes. I had so many wrong beliefs that kept on inserting inside my head, which drained me mentally. So it was always hard to be a child for me. It was always, I wanted to be a perfect kid because imperfect things were happening to me. And it was so hard. I was always drained mentally. I had to realize that it was not my fault. As I went to counseling and therapy, I had to realize that it was not my fault. And there was nobody, my parents, even though my parent was there, they couldn't help me because they were living in their own imperfect parenthood, So because of that, it was all imperfect, and I didn't know how to be proud of being imperfect, I was different. And in that difference, I was imperfect. So I learned to be proud to be one me, just one me. I didn't realize all these things while I was growing up. But now when I finally did grow up, and right now, I forgave myself for not knowing these things back then. That's what you have to say to your child, your inner child. I forgive you because, I forgive myself for making myself feel how low just because I failed at some things. I forgive you. The feeling is so liberating, and your inner child will feel so free once you give them or render the forgiveness. See, reparenting yourself and healing your inner child will demand love and forgiveness. And don't hesitate. Don't ever hesitate or be, hesitant to say, any of this, just blurt it out. Get it all out, okay? Number 6, you're doing your best. See, growing up, there's no directions, and people always tell you what they did to grow up, but that's not how you are because you're a different person. So growing up is always, I always needed some pick me up for something because I always felt and felt bad about myself. So I needed to be assured that I was doing my best. I had a teacher by the name of Miss Murray. And I remember in her class, and she was actually the first one I told about my abuse, and I felt comfortable with. And she would always, the first thing she said out of her mouth was, you're doing your best. It's okay, and it's not your fault. You're not perfect, and neither other person, but you're doing what's best right now. So you're doing your best. You may have not been given your best and even failed. It's okay, because at least you tried, you did something. Instead of just laying around and, crying about your failures, all we need is someone supporting our journey and giving us the ray of hope. Thus, this group, you're doing your best. Tell your inner child you're doing your best. And say that you're proud of them for doing their best. Number 7, and last and not least, we all have not been heard as children. Remember the saying, children should be seen and not heard? How long have we been hearing that? And how stuck is that in our heads when we're talking to adults? Even when we're talking to elders, we say, yeah, you're not supposed to talk to your elders that way. Even when you're talking to an elder, you get in the place you're 12 years old and you're 40 and that person's 60. You're like, wait, what? Hearing that and being programmed of that, in that your thoughts are stuck. And being a child, your inner child, hearing that, you can't even cry right. You cry and then you look around the corner to see if someone hearing you cry so you don't cry. Right? So you need to hear those cries from your inner child to heal yourself. And when they're saying whatever they need to say, when that child is saying it, you sit down with yourself and you hear these words, come to you that says, this is what happened. And you realize it. I hear you, inner child. I hear you, little Edna. These are those wounds that we've tried so hard to bury as we enter to adulthood. But these wounds need your heart to pay attention, to listen to. Assure your inner child that he or she is now, and instead of suppressing your inner voice, tell yourself, I hear you, and I will work on this together with you. Okay? So when we start saying these words of assurance and to your inner child, you're going to start to notice a deeper connection, a groundedness that you never had before. Words have great impact on our minds, and especially for our inner child that is wounded. He or she will really need to hear these words out loud. Make a morning routine, because I have one, and start practicing the reassuring words while you're in your journal, while you're writing in your journal. Okay? I heal myself on the pages of my writing. When I'm going through something, that is my realization part of my life. When things seem overwhelming and there's a lot of work, but trust me, when you start practicing it daily, it won't seem so difficult to journal. I know you're saying, I don't have hours in a day. I do. Sometimes I have to do just 30 minutes. Sometimes I have to do, I have enough to do an hour and then, meditate. Whatever it is, I chisel the time out and I keep that. I keep that commitment to myself to love myself more. So, that is all that I have for this community today. And I know we have like 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, I am here to answer them. Anyone that's missed any part of it, please start your journal. The first work you're going to have to do is start your journal, start journaling, and this will be recorded. Okay, so there's a question from Karen. What if you don't remember me that young? Well, you're going to have to create me. You remember you had, I don't know, some of us had those imaginary friends. You're going to have to imagine, because there's a reason why you don't remember. There's a reason. Your part of your mind is blocking it off to protect your emotional self. So I would tread very lightly and create and write. If you don't remember, write that in your journal. Start writing it so that, it's like a bottle. So if you open a bottle up, what comes out? What's inside? You all have been closed very long, for a very long time. So when you open it, the things that need to come out will come out, like this water. So trust yourself, Karen. Write that in your book. Write it down. You don't remember? Write it down. And then write down how young you do remember, what you do remember. Okay? So write that down. So write it down. Let me see. Okay. Sam said, you mentioned reparenting yourself. I parent my kids the way I wanted to be parented, but how do I apply this to myself? Easy. You're going to call yourself, what was your nickname? So you're going to just think of yourself as one of your children. So, but I know I call myself little Edna. I always say little Ed. And I always talk to her that way. So, but it's just like, it's your child. You're really what you're going to do is going to sit down and you're going to have conversations with yourself. Yeah, it's not great to have conversations with yourself, but if you have an answer and a solution, it's good. So Sam, sit down. You parent your kids the way that you wanted to be parented. Now, just turn that around and parent yourself and be compassionate to yourself, right? Be compassionate to Sam, because you're probably giving out what you should have given to yourself first. So everything that you are giving to your children that you didn't get, do that for yourself. And I mean emotionally first. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I get that, Sam. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, people pleaser. And you're probably a great chameleon as well. Like you can adjust. You could be in a bad mood, but you can adjust to somebody else's mood real quick, So yeah, I was that way too. And you probably could pick up their feelings as well. Yep. So if you're people, what that is, why that is open is because you never closed it off because you wanted everybody to love you. You wanted to receive the love, and you're not giving the love to yourself. So your love is going out. It's not going back and forth. It's not any relation. It's just going out. Okay. So love needs to go like a back and forth. All right. Sort of like a circle, like that. It has to come back to you. So you're going to have to love on yourself a lot more. Okay. Sam, a lot more. It's going to take a lot of energy. And I applaud you as a man is doing this. It's really great. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. All right. Stephanie. Okay. Thank you. She said this was amazing presentation, very heartfelt. I've learned about the inner child before, but never felt like this. I'm so glad I joined, but I can't wait to the following days. Okay. Thank you, Stephanie, for that. Now, everyone, remember that you're going to be journaling, and make sure that whatever you feel, getting back to not realizing your child's, whatever child age you do remember, start writing and talking to that person. Because if you're talking to a 12-year-old, 12-year-olds can't keep their mouths shut, and they're going to tell you about the other part of it. Okay, I promise you. I promise you. I've done this for myself. So let me see. How long did it take you to become the confident, energetic woman you are now? Well, it takes time. But what I will tell you, you can do it, and it happens once you start believing in yourself, have your self-worth. I wrote a book about my abuse when I was in my 20s, and I was so ashamed that I didn't put it out until I was 40. So it's 20 years. But once that, again, the top came off, you couldn't close it back. So your confidence builds. There's certain levels of your confidence that builds, and of your personality that kind of builds. So it's going to happen. You're going to feel confident, right? First of all, you're going to be confident just writing in this book. That's number one. You're going to be confident about doing that. That's going to bring you another step up. So I will tell you that. Okay. And how long does it take for the inner child to heal? You will feel the child grow up. I promise you. I felt it myself. When I was healing my 5-year-old, I then felt 12. I could feel my spirit inside of me be 12. Then as I healed my 12-year-old, I felt 30, right? And as I got older, it kind of caught up with where I was physically. Okay. So not to say, I don't know how to explain it more than that it's more or less, I knew that my child was now an adult. Okay. And yes, I had to take on some adult things and change a lot of adult things, but I knew that my inner child was no longer a child. It was an adult. She was, rather, not it. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get all the questions. I apologize. Let's see. Okay. What childhood trauma could cause over controlling exercise and food? About anything. But I will tell you, I had an issue when I was younger, childhood sexual abuse, and I was cutting. I cut a lot, and I also self-mutilated. So it then went into exercising. I would over-exercise everything. Everything was over the top. And my food, of course, I had more control over my food. I did a lot of food control things. So what I would say is start journaling about that. Rebecca, start journaling, and you'll start once you open the top of you and start getting some of the stuff out, you'll get a clearer picture of what was really going on. And why are you over controlling aspects of, or what are ways to solving why you're over controlling aspects? There's a lot of ways to solve it, but I will tell you, this is one of the first steps, is journaling. Okay. Everything starts at getting it out into writing, because I can't express how much writing did for me, changed things for me. Okay. It's really about putting it out. Yes, you may go to a therapist, and your thoughts are, when you go to a therapist, you hear them, they're going to give you an answer. They're hearing to give you an answer. But how many times have you written something and you gave yourself the answer? It's important that you write and you journal. All right. There's a reason behind it, because you get all of the things that you probably don't talk about out on a piece of paper in your journal. Okay. So you want to have that to really help yourself talk better to yourself. Now you're realizing things, because once you start writing, or even using your phone to record things, and actually record it to, like a what do you call those? On a Google Doc, you can actually record and it types it out. Once you start talking, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. You just start talking, because you're getting it out, right? And you can do this as many times as you need to. Now, there will be times where it's going to bring up emotions, and that's okay, but go with the emotion. And then ask yourself, why am I getting emotional right here and not back then? What is going on? You're always talking to yourself, right? You're always having that conversation with yourself. We don't utilize ourselves because we don't trust ourselves enough, right? We don't trust ourselves. We trust other people because we're people pleasers, or we're doing things for other people, but we don't trust ourselves. And we're our first loves. We have to love ourselves. So loving someone means trusting someone. So loving yourself, trust yourself, okay? Start to trust yourself. That's a great way of solving your controlling issues. Start to trust yourself, because you don't trust other people because you don't trust yourself. That's it. That's the real truth behind not trusting other people and controlling other people, because you don't trust yourself. Okay? So start doing that. Okay. Any other questions? I see Sherry has written something here. I've been working on self-love, but it seems when I get to a better place and then I get rejected by someone and feel like they are saying what they're saying is more true than positive self-talk. I realize I say the self-talk, but never get to the place where I really believe it. All right. So if I'm reading this right, when you're talking about self-love, you're talking, first of all, self-love has nothing to do with anyone else. Has nothing to do with anyone else. So it's its own little entity. It's about you. It's not about being egotistical. It's about you. What's good for you? If, just like I spoke to you earlier today, if you do not want to go do something for someone, you're saying no with a period, not no with a comma. No, because I got to do such and such and such. That's not self-loving yourself. That's being passive about it and saying, I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it because you want me to do it. It's no with a period. That's it. I mean, and you have to get to that place that I have to worry about myself. I don't have enough time in the day to care about myself. You know, working with self-love has a lot to do with you, taking care of you. And it has something to do with, getting massages, taking care of yourself, all of those great things, going to the doctors, taking care of yourself, maintaining good weight. That's good for you, not for everyone else, but it's good for you. What is good for you? What weight is good for you? What makeup is good for you? And not men, but maybe men do wear makeup, but what haircut is good for you? What is good for you? Not for the masses. Self-love has to do with you. Have you asked yourself, really, what haircut, what hairdo do I really look good? Why am I cutting my hair this way? Why am I doing my hair this way? Do I like it, or am I liking it because somebody else had it on? Does it really compliment me? Self-love is deep, deep, deep in you, about you. And if you're talking to someone and you get rejected from someone, then self-love is not about you. Yeah, people may reject you because guess who's rejecting you? You. You're rejecting you. So if you don't feel good about yourself, what do you think you're putting out? It's like a Las Vegas sign. I don't like myself. I don't like myself. We're all energy. What we get from other people is what energy we're putting out. That's it. What we are doing, we're doing it to ourselves. So how do we stop that? We have to now love ourselves. First step that I went through with therapy is, my therapist said, go and strip down everything and look at yourself in the long mirror. And just stand there and look at yourself in a long mirror. And when you start talking to yourself, ooh, that looks bad. That's bad self-talk. Write it down. Right? You're struggling with old stuff and you're hurting yourself. So self-love really has to do with digging into, what do I really want? What is it I really like? What am I here for? Okay. Yes, Thelma, yes, I do have a coaching program. I do not privately, I'm not a therapist. I am a counselor, and I do have a coaching program. So yes, I do. All right. I think I see some thank yous from everybody. I really want to thank everyone. Chastity, Sophie, Rebecca, Sam, Janelle, another Sam, Paris, Thelma, Venja, Carrie, Stephanie. Did I miss anybody? Um, Jacqueline, Catherine, Sherry, Michael, Markeisha, Roland, King, Donica, and I guess that's it. I want to thank you all for being here. I'll see you all tomorrow. If you need anything, go to the event and definitely write in I need whatever. All right. I'll have the replay up in about an hour. Bye now.